guys, me and Brody are out doing some scouting on a new piece of public land we've never been on. It's a pretty large track. We have to go quick because there's some snow coming in. So we're going to get to walking. Hopefully we find some good deer sign. Well, like I said before, Brody and I out doing some scouting. We've got like 7-8 inches of snow here, but it's March 2nd and we're tired of being cooped up inside. We're gonna try to do some scouting. Hopefully the snow should help us actually be able to find the deer tracks and the deer sign a little bit better. So it's gonna be interesting to see what we find on this spot. Like I said, we've never been here before, so the snow should actually help us be able to track the deer a little bit better. So we have a long walk to get back to where we think the good stuff is, but it's like 17 degrees today and like my hand is frozen holding this GoPro. But we're so tired of being cooped up indoors that it's like we got to get out and do some scouting. It's March for crying out loud, and it feels like January 3rd. Cutting some tracks right here already. Yeah, we can walk that draw back, or we can go down and hit that other stuff. I don't know which one you think's better.
The deeper stuff's probably better, but
we can walk this all the way back to that other one, and then that stuff way on the other side that looks really steep, we can go all the way back to that too. So I don't know if you want to hit this, or like I said, there's more cedar stuff over there. I don't know what you think is better.
I think the open hardwoods are going to be better.
Well, let's get in this one then, see what it looks like. If we don't like it, then we can hop over.
Okay.
So we're finally getting back to some of the areas we think are good. There's really lots of doe sign closer where people have easy access to it. So we're hoping the farther we get back, the better it gets. We're walking past some of that early stuff just because those draws are so steep and so full of just cedars only that you might just get a couple does in there. That's about it. And it's easy access. So now we found some good stuff. We're gonna walk this draw back, work it back towards the stuff that's even deeper and farther back and a little bit more open, a little bit less steep, a little bit more prone to having some bucks bed in it. So that's where we're headed to now, but it looks good from up on this hill. We'll get down in it and see what we can't find. I'm so tired. That hill freaking sucked.
All of these hills suck.
Holy crap. Alright, so as you can tell, we're tired. We just came up out of that draw. It just keeps getting thinner and steeper, and we can't hunt it anyways, so we popped up out of there. And Brody just mentioned the factor on this property that's going to help us get deer, or should help us, that kind of eliminating factor, is access. Because I don't even know how many hills we've walked up and down, and we're like tired, like it sucks. And we're going way back there to those cedar trees. So the main factor on this property is going to be who's willing to walk the farthest. So we're going to have to come up with some creative ways to get back in here. We're going to go back to this kind of cedar thicket. It's a little bit wider, I think a little bit flatter. See if we can't find some deer sign back there, but we're going to take a break for a little bit because we need it. That was one steep hill. Wow. So if we go, this one's thin and not worth it. And that cedar tree behind us is it's wide. So it might be worth scouting, but it might be too thick. So I think just blow by it.
Okay.
I mean, it's just, like those ones, too thin, too steep, too full of cedars for anything to be in it. That one, it might be better because it's wider and like flatter by wider and not, but if it's still cedars wall to wall, you can't get a stain in there anyways. So if we get across this one and get over to the next one, it opens up. It's quite a bit wider. So essentially what we've done so far is we have literally blown through at a slow pace because it's hard to walk and it's cold out. But scouting wise, not spent any time on anything back there. And there's more draws and stuff than you can see because it's hilly. But these draws that we're walking through, super steep and they're full of cedars. So one, we can't get a stand in there because it's so thick. Two, we've only really seen a couple beds in there, and those cedar thickets really only equate to good bedding when it's like this, when it's 17 degrees out, cold and windy, and we didn't see much sign in there other than doe tracks. So blow through those because there's no buck sign. We can't hunt it anyways. And so what we're looking for, when we came up over this hill, you can see how you're getting those elms, those hackberries, those cottonwood trees, and there's less and less cedars in them. That's what we're looking for because the thicker, steeper cedar draws have nothing in them. So go to the next favorable type of cover, and that's this more open stuff. So that's where we're headed now. It just has more productivity as far as buck bedding, deer being there in general, and us being able to actually hunt it. So that's where we're gonna head right now. Brody and I made it down here finally to some more open, and it actually is hardwoods because it's oak trees and there's cedar trees mixed in about it. And there's lots and lots of trails running through this spot. There's a draw that runs back over Brody's shoulder there. And then we came to this spot. We've stood here a little bit now, but right here, there's just a random spot where all these deer tracks came together. And we looked, and you can see right there, and here, and all of this, that there's a scrape right here. And they're still
in the snow, they're kind of pawing.
And they're still even coming to it to smell it in March 1st or 2nd, whatever it is today. So the scrapes are still coming to. So that tells us there's a lot of trails coming together right here. There's a rub right there. There's a rub we'll get to through the trees up there, and I'm sure there's a bunch more in here.
There's two on this tree.
Yeah, there's two up here. So it's a good spot where obviously a bunch of trails and stuff is coming together. So we're gonna work off of this. This is the best sign we've seen so far. And we knew once we got to this spot where it opened up, got out of those steep cedar draws, we'd start finding the sign, and that's what we're finding right now. So
good place for a trail camera, probably right here if we wanted to run one during the summer, and then like even marking the spot on next, because any of these trees will work. We can come in, do a hang and hunt from this tree right behind Chance, be able to get something moving through here probably.
So keep walking. This is definitely a good spot. We'll probably mark it, at least maybe put a tree stand or a camera here. So we got up here, we've worked probably 50 to 100 yards farther past where we found that sign, that scrape in those rubs. We found this group of trees right here. It'll provide some pretty good cover for us. Got a cedar tree behind us, so we should have really good cover. As you can see, there's some old rubs on a couple of these trees right here, but there's a draw off this side, and then there's a draw off that side. So we can climb up in this tree right here, watch back down that draw where all that sign was, and then also watch back across this draw. There's a bunch of trails crisscrossing back here, with trails back here, so it just kind of allows us kind of an observation set of sorts back in here, so we can watch both sides of the draw, get an idea of where deer are moving. And the one thing I talked about it before is that when we do observation sits, they're observation sits that we can see, but close to where we think the deer are bedding, that still provides a really good chance to shoot a deer. So if we come in here in September, or we come in here in October, whenever we decide to first come in here, we can come to this spot, be a long ways, and still possibly shoot a deer, like have a really good chance of shooting a deer. So we're not going to do an observation stand way up on that hill and watch them come out of the draws and do all that stuff and then move in. We're going into the draws, putting that observation stand there to where we can still see and still have a chance to shoot something. So that's the whole point of this stand. It's going to allow us to see where the deer are coming from and moving, even though we think they're going to be in this area anyways. So I'd like to see a little bit more, a little bit more open hardwoods down in here. I'm gonna go that way. You want to go that way? Sure. I'll jump off this way, and then we should be able to meet up there. It looks like it's pretty thick right up in there. Yeah. Too, but yeah, this is better. This is what I was hoping. Yeah. A little bit more for. So when we were talking about looking for more open draws with a little less cedars, I think some deer just ran up there. Did they? Straight through. I bet they did. But when we were talking about looking, one, two does. So we're getting closer. Like we talk about, if we were actively hunting, the next thing we do, we go up to where those does were and hang a stand. Yeah. Like so, we're close to where we need to be. We might even need to be just over the hill. Based on the does are bedded here, the buck's back a little bit further. But
and it's what we were looking for, like I was going to say before we seed those, is looking for more of this open hardwoods, because those draws before were so steep. I mean, they're like 12 foot wide probably, cedar thickets where you can't stand in them. Deer don't even really like to bed in them. When we get in here, you can see here, it's more open hardwoods. It's going to have more cover, obviously, when we get into September and stuff, but that's what we're looking for, and that's why we pushed past all that other stuff, is looking for more open hardwoods. Then when we got back in here, we started seeing the stuff that we wanted to see. So Chance is going to jump off that way. I'm going to go that way, see if we can't find some better stuff up in front of us.
And that's why that stuff that's over the hill
is probably better.
Really good.
Yeah.
And then on this cedar tree?
Yeah, there's a bunch of rubs right here. We've probably seen 10 rubs right here in about a 30-yard circle. So the bucks are in here. We're getting closer.
The tree stand that we talked about earlier in the observation set, there's a go stand for this spot, so we can still see this area. But we're probably going to try to find one up here.
It's more aggressive.
Probably on both sides, because we don't know which way we're going to have to access it from. But right in here somewhere, we need to find another tree stand.
Yeah, and so I guess the thing to note, as I was talking to Chance about this a little bit ago, is that there isn't much for transitions when we're in here. A lot of times we've been talking about finding transitions, and there really isn't much here. So the thing we're keying on here is access, getting away from where people are, which I don't think too many people are even coming in here. And then we're getting into some terrain that's more suitable for buck bedding, this open hardwood stuff, instead of those thick cedars. So that's what we're looking for here, more so than transitions at the moment.
Just because this property is more of a prairie with
draws,
cedar and hardwood draws.
Yeah.
So it's not a
river
bottom forested type area where you're going to have the transitions. Because it's a draw, you kind of get
What you get.
monotonous kind of stuff. But that's where the terrain features and getting away from people is what you have to look at.
Yep.
So we're in the good spot. So we definitely need one on this side that we can come down. And like, I want to be able to see this bottom.
Yeah. There's so many rubs right off that top trail.
But if he's bedded over there, I kind of want it to be right here, don't you think?
Yeah.
Like where the cedars are?
Yeah.
So
There's a good place
were
for
bedded up there.
good place for a camera too. Depends if we feel like that's where they're gonna be.
I'd put
Or
it
if we
here,
can
like,
put
on
it-
that thing and like point it this way.
Yeah.
On that tree. Yeah, we've never scouted here or hunted here at all, so all this is completely new. So you're going to be able to see the whole process of us hunting this next fall, through the summer, through the scouting, because we'll probably be back scouting here again. We'll turkey hunt here, so that'll just help us get familiar with this area for deer season. So we've never been here, so this is all completely new. We're making a game plan as we go, so you can see that process as it plays out. So.
So the first spot we found is back here behind Chance, in that first draw that was really pretty flat and had more hardwoods. The next draw we're looking at is this one behind me, which you can tell is probably even a little bit better than that stuff. A little bit more hardwoods than some of this stuff. So we're gonna work our way back down this draw. Hopefully we can find some good stuff in there too. But that spot back there looks pretty good. Bunch of beds right back here, bunch of rubs and buck sign right behind Chance. So a good draw there. We're gonna try to find a couple more spots. Well, that's an interesting find. I was walking up there, I could see what looked like a leg right here. And I could see these antlers sticking up out of the ground. So walked down in here and found this deadhead down in here. So it's a good sign. It's a nice buck. Nice, look like 4x3 or something. Pretty nice buck. So interesting find down in here. Hard to see down here with all the snow, but found it. Pretty cool. So I've walked a little bit further than this draw. I'm in this draw, Chance in a draw that runs on that side, but this stuff's pretty good back here. It's definitely the best stuff, like we were thinking when we looked at our map. Got some rubs right here, and if you look, there's a couple beds right here. But good buck bedding right here, as you can tell. You can sit here, you can look off over this draw. It's like a little creek that runs down here, so you can sit up here on this ridge with a wind blowing from back here, blowing this way, and you can look out over all this stuff right here. So pretty good spot down this draw. As I got farther this way down that draw, I ran into more of that stuff that we were passing over back there. I think this stuff here is a little bit different than that stuff. It's not quite so steep, a little bit more of a roll to it. Cedar trees aren't so thick, so I think this is more of that, some of that bedding area where the bucks could be bedding back in here and working their way down that draw. So right here, we're probably not gonna hunt too thick, lots of cedars, but if I go 50 yards that way, that's where I'm hanging my stand. So I'm not going 200 yards that way and setting my stand. I'm gonna sit right up here on the edge of where this draw starts to flatten out a little bit. And I guess that can kind of act as our transitions in a way. It's not an obvious transition, but it's where that terrain feature kind of levels out a little bit and those draws open up. That's where we're gonna set up on this draw. So terrain features aren't always, you know, obvious cedar trees to hardwoods or CRP to hardwoods kind of thing. In this situation, our transition is where the cedar tree draws open up and flatten out. And I think that's kind of the biggest takeaway from the scouting here today, is that we're looking for these draws. If you're hunting areas like this, we'll show you an example map where it's just got a lot of fingers and a lot of draws. Look for areas where those draws flatten out and set up right on that transition where the draw starts to go from really steep with a lot of these cedar trees and opens up into hardwoods. Get right on the edge of that. That'll act as your transition and a setup kind of like this. So that's the biggest takeaway from today's blog for me and for scouting these areas, is find those areas where those draws open up and aren't so steep. We passed over all that stuff back there because it wasn't right. We knew we had to get back in here, farthest stuff away from the car, probably 1.5 miles, 2 miles from the car, but that's where the buck sign is. So it's starting to snow a little bit. Try to get up out of here and walk the 2 miles back to the car.
Well, me and Brody finally made it out of there. Our legs are like so tired and we like need food bad. But we made it out, and that's gonna be the problem with this property, is access. Like, I don't even know how far we were in there, but it's way too far to want to walk or carry a stand. Like, we walked far and this is way too far to go in and hunt. Like, even go in and hunt all day and walk out. But if nothing else, we know there's deer back there, and we know that if we can't get back there, we can eliminate it and move on and focus on different properties. So we're gonna have some more Ask Whitetail Instinct videos, some more podcasts coming up, so make sure you guys watch those. And of course, thanks for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we're gonna have some more content for you coming out.